I'm going to start kind of in the middle of the platform for now, kind of just dive right into a sample D365 integration because I do want to talk a little bit about what our integration design looks like and how data is flowing in and out of D365. So bear with me here for a second. We'll zoom out and take a look at the entire platform in just a few minutes here. But I do want to take a look at data that's being exchanged with our partners and going into our D365 F&O or SCM system. So here we're looking at the Cleo Integration Cloud cockpit, and this is showing us all of our transactions that are going back and forth with our partners. In this case, I have some sample data with my Acme partner, and I have a few different order or a few different transaction types that are going back and forth with Acme. So I can open these up, and within the cockpit, I can see that end-to-end integration happening. I can see my key data surfaced from these different document types here. So my order acknowledgement that went to my partner and my shipment notice. So we're seeing some key values surfaced out of these documents here. And we can also see the raw data. So the data that the partner sent us. In this case, this was an EDI 850 coming in from Acme. We can also see the SCM format. Like I mentioned earlier, it's an XML format that we use to integrate with SCM. So we're seeing our XML data in here. And then we can also take a look at our integration with SCM at the bottom. So this message lifecycle will show us our end-to-end integration, the payloads that were sent, the logs from each step. So I'd be able to click through these and see how my transformation process kicked off and all of the different mapping steps that happened within that integration. And then ultimately my connection with SCM, sending my API calls to that data management framework that I talked about earlier. So all of that detail is built out for us in here. So we can see right from a very technical level what's going on with our data. So I just wanted to flash this just to get into kind of the nuts and bolts of the integration to show you what we're exposing. And then if I open up D365 in my other tab here, we actually see this same purchase order that we're seeing in the Cleo Integration Cloud. We're seeing it populated here. And the thing I'd like to point out is we are populating the standard fields in SCM or F&O with the header information. We see our sales order lines at the bottom here. So unlike some other solutions in the market, we are not deploying our own tab or our own interface within SCM. We connect to the native fields and objects within SCM. So we don't have like a Clio tab at the top of the screen here that shows us all of our EDI data. We're instead integrating all of that data into the fields that you'd like to see strictly within the SCM records, right? So if you have your own records, your own customizations that you've made within SCM, we can absolutely map to those. That's what the framework, the underlying framework that Microsoft has enables us to do. So it enables a lot of flexibility within our integrations so that we're not kind of put in this box or restricted to just the package that we've deployed within your environment. And to take that a step further, the execution of the follow-up documents, right? For example, an order acknowledgement or a shipment would all happen based off of native workflows within SCM. So if your user here is ready to confirm this sales order, maybe we've updated our quantities or our units or whatever we need to do to confirm this order. From there, the user would click confirm sales order, and that would send out that sales order confirmation that we see back in this tab here. So that would send out that confirmation to the partner automatically. So we are tying into the native workflows within SCM, within the kind of standard procedures that your users are working through so that everything is seamless. All the communication with your partners happens automatically. The same would happen after your pick, pack, and ship process, whether that's an internal process or a process with a third-party warehouse. we will pick up on those native workflows within SCM and kick off the sending of a shipment notice or a 3PL warehouse transaction whenever necessary, right? Whenever those steps are executed within SCM. So, and I do want to reiterate something that Ryan mentioned earlier. We do have a Q&A box. So if there are any questions as I'm going through some of this, please drop those in the chat. I know a lot of the questions that I get typically come up on the architecture that I covered earlier and on the SCM piece here. So if you have any questions, please drop those in the chat. We will get to those at the end of the webinar here. So I do want to pivot a little bit, right? I think hopefully that covers from a high level the SCM integrations and how we really design and build our automation with SCM. I do want to give the group here a tour of the Cleo platform. So I'm going to actually pivot here to another tenant that has some more rich demo data. A lot of this just comes from one partner, so I'd like to switch over to another tenant here. All right, so backing up and zooming out in the CIC cockpit here, I want to show us our main dashboard that the cockpit offers. So this is really aimed to show you the heartbeat or the status of your supply chain integrations with your partners. And so we're seeing some of the high level insights that Cleo can drive as it's moving these transactions back and forth. Because we see your orders that come in and we see your responses to those orders, we're able to pull insights and information off of those transactions and surface them for us here. So for example, we can monitor for your timeliness of responses to your partners on shipment notices, right? Have you responded to your shipments in full on the orders that you're receiving? What does your order acknowledgement timelines look like? What do your invoice timelines look like? So we can pull this information off of the data that's moving through our platform and surface it for you here. Also give you some looks at the financial risk that you might be accruing through being late on some of these through the form of chargebacks, right? A lot of these retailers are notorious for their chargeback systems and the fees that they charge their suppliers. So we want to help you track that and get ahead of some of these situations. So not only are we reporting on your timeliness, we're also alerting you if you are getting close to missing some of these timelines. So if, for instance, Amazon is expecting you to fulfill a shipment in full by tomorrow and you haven't sent that shipment out yet, we can alert you and potentially give your team a heads up to get that fixed or get that shipment out the door to avoid that chargeback. So that's the goal with some of this insight and kind of what we call the orchestration layer that sits on top of your integrations here. So I did want to flash this while I had it pulled up. And we'll take a deeper look at some of the scorecarding that we build out here in a second. But I do want to flash some of the message level visibility. So if we didn't see what I just did there, I selected my purchase order chart. So this is showing me all of my inbound orders from my partners. And what we see here is a high level report of those orders. Users can customize this to their liking. So if they would like to see other information surfaced out of their orders, we can select the manage columns icon at the top right corner here and select other fields from our orders or from our document types to be surfaced in this table. The cool part about this table is you can export it to a CSV format. You can also schedule that export. So if you'd like a recurring update on your orders with the data that you specifically want to see out of those orders, you build your columns here, set up that export, and receive that update as often as you'd like. Some of the other filtering that you can do is on the left-hand side here, whether that's by specific partners, filter by issues, if any of your documents have issues or are at risk of missing those timeliness SLAs that you have in place. You can filter by those. Also filter by acknowledgement status, multiple message types. So we can select any of our messages that we're doing with our partners. to be included in this report here. And then lastly, any of the details in the messages. So we're seeing some of those examples here, but you can really filter by any of the properties that we're surfacing out of your document types. We saw the transaction chain that we create earlier, where if I open this up here, excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. We see this transaction chain that we're building out here, and it connects our related transactions. So this is a pretty straightforward example with the core 4 documents that we see with retailer or customer relationships. We will capture any of your transactions that you do regarding this order in this chain here. So order changes, for example, with 860s and 865s, multiple shipment notices if the order was shipped over multiple shipments, invoices, remittances, anything that's related to that original order, we capture here for users to see the full transaction chain. So did want to refresh that quickly. But where I want to bring us to is when things go wrong, right? There's automated ways to stay up to date with this data, right? We are getting notifications when things are going wrong or when things aren't happening that should be happening. We can sign up for our custom reports to stay up to date on that data. But this really should be a managed by exception tool. So when things are going wrong or haven't happened, we have our issues tab at the top left-hand corner here. And what this does is reports all of our issues, right? It's our kind of dashboard for anything going wrong in our environment. And we're seeing here all of those issues reported. This is a demo environment, so we tend to have a lot of issues in here, as we can see. On the left-hand side, we have our statuses that we can filter by. So there's a built-in ticketing system here to filter by the status, filter by the document type that's impacted or being impacted by that issue, and then also issue categories. So if there's a categorization that the error falls under, we will categorize that for you. Now I want to open one of these entries here, and I'll use this mapping failure as an example. And what we see here is a report with 3 different tabs. In the first tab is the issue report, and it tells us how many messages are impacted. And in the middle here, we have our AI-assisted error resolution that tells us in a human readable way what is going wrong with these orders or with these transactions. And in this case, the partner is sending us data that we're not expecting, so we need to fix that in some way. We also get our technical report at the bottom here telling us the error message from our engine and the mapping step that's failing. So from here, we can go to our resolution and recovery tab. And again, with the help of our AI-assisted resolution, we get a root cause analysis and recommended fix options. And in this case, what we would probably do is want to update our mapping rules to handle this data that our partner is sending us. So we can download our mapping rules here, update that rule set, deploy it back into our environment here. And once we've made that change, we're handling this ZZ field that the partner is sending us. We can then scroll down to our impacted messages and reprocess all of these. So it gives us a quick and streamlined way to handle and recover from errors. It is worth noting that Cleo does have a flexible operational model for troubleshooting and error resolution. So like we're seeing here, can be fully self-service, right? Your team can own this and manage the issues on a day-to-day basis. Or you can rely on our team as a managed service to fix these things for you in a proactive way. We'd kind of be the first line of defense for anything that comes up with a 1 hour response time on any issue that comes up in your environment. Or we can meet somewhere in the middle where it's kind of a blend of the two. So really flexible in the operational model that we can offer for handling these day-to-day issues. Lastly here, I do want to point out the discussion tab. This is where you can communicate with internal users, if you have multiple Cleo users at your organization, or if you're working with our managed service or support teams, you would see communications with them here. So it gives you a single place to communicate. You don't have to go to a ticketing system or in open an email thread to start troubleshooting and working with our team. All right. So I have one more thing I'd like to cover before I want to open it up for questions. So I'd like to flash our orchestration tab at the top of our screen here. So I talked a little bit about this earlier, and this is our intelligence layer that we put on top of your integrations to monitor for your timeliness of order responses, shipments, and invoicing. So that's what we're seeing here is a report of all of our open orders. Well, some of these have been invoiced, but it's a report of all of our orders from our customers, and it's showing us the statuses of each order and where we're at. So I can scroll through some of these, ignore that we're fully invoicing partially shipped orders. We probably shouldn't be doing that. I don't think that's happening in many real life scenarios, but could be happening. But it gives you an idea of how you're performing with each of your partners and the metrics for those these different stages of order fulfillment. You can also filter by the various statuses that you have with each of these orders. And then, of course, we're alerting you if, for example, you did miss a shipment timeframe or you're getting close to missing a shipment timeframe. We will alert you so that your team can get ahead of that and potentially get that shipment out the door. You can take a deeper dive into each of these issues. If I open up this one here from Chewy, we see our issue status across each line item. So it breaks out the line items here, shows us our confirmation status for each line item, shipment, and invoice status. We'd be able to click through these and see if anything had changed or as this is being fulfilled or invoiced, what the status is with each of those line items. So it gives us a glass box or full view of the order fulfillment process. Also ties into our 3PL integrations. So if these are being fulfilled by a third party, we capture those metrics as well. All right, so I just wanted to flash that at the end here. I know we have a couple minutes, so let's open it up for questions.
Um, all right. We do have a couple here. Let's start with the first one. If we have a trading partner that is sending many items, say 5 items, that are then to be combined into one item bundle item before the D3 F&O import, does Clio have an interface that would allow this to be performed? Hopefully you were tracking. I have no idea what that means, Shane.
That's funny. I actually hear this requirement quite a lot. So yes, I think with a combination of our reference tables here to host that item data and bundle data, we probably have two. I think we'd have two reference tables if I'm thinking about this logic here. One for all of our items, and then one for the bundles and what items go in that bundle. And then during our integration process, we can pull apart bundles or put bundles together depending on the outcome that you need for the D365 side. I'd assume we'd need to pull apart a bundle to create individual items in D365 and then kind of put it back together on the way out. So absolutely we can support that kind of logic within the integration process and hosting reference tables like this one here.
Okay, excellent. Um, Am I able to see CIC alerts in other platforms like Zendesk or other support ticketing systems?
Absolutely, yeah. So Clio does have um, integration capabilities with APIs, and those platforms use API interfaces. So we can absolutely send notifications or error warnings to those help desk or ticket desks.
Okay, excellent. I think you touched on this for the most part, but Do you have any way to reprocess or resend the failed transaction after you've reestablished the connection or resolved the integration error?
Yeah, good call out. I don't know if I touched on this specifically, but there was a button in my resolution and recovery tab here. After I selected my messages that are impacted by an issue, I can reprocess them. You can also reprocess messages that don't have an issue if for whatever reason you need to resend it. Maybe a prospect, or I'm sorry, not a prospect, a partner is asking for you to resend a document. You can resend one that's already been sent.
Okay, excellent. Um, that's all we have. So thank you everyone for joining us live. Hopefully you enjoyed the demo. Again, if you'll be in Las Vegas at DynamicsCon, stop by the Cleo booth. We can show more products or have an extended conversation. But with that, I'll let everyone get back to their day. Thank you again. Enjoy your Thursday. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.